What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we so live our best life. Oh, it's different sides to the lens
Throw
of
me all the
holistic
way
health.
off.
I'm your host, Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and as usual, I have with me my bride, my girl, my queen, my partner in crime, life, stressing and blessing. How you doing? Or introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka
The
Health
Health
Nerd,
Nerd.
and here joining you from San Francisco, California.
Yeah. Shout out to the Bay. Shout out to the Bay. Shout out to the Bay. First off, disclaimer: grown folk stressing out of town. Apparently, our house may have some water stuff. So if you see me, hopping in and out, right? Or if you're listening on the podcast and you're like, oh, where's Devon's melancholic voice? It's just, I may have stepped away to handle some grown stuff real quick. All right. But the queen's gonna hold it down if I need to step out. She got it. Today we are finally getting back to the art of manifestation. I feel like we brought this up 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, like for the Tulsa one.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, a solid 2 or 3 weeks ago, we brought this up on our kind of a reflection of how our Tulsa trip went, which was amazing, which was literally a manifestation of dreams, of efforts. But we overtalked a little bit and we didn't get to actually get to the art of manifestation. We just reflected a lot. So today we want to kind of take another step back, reflect on how we've both been able to manifest some things, and also just kind of map out our version of what it looks like. Not the only version, not the perfect version, but our version of what it's like. And hopefully y'all can get some nuggets out of it. Queen, sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the episode.
All right, here we are. We're back. Well, I'm back. The king has stepped out. But we want to talk about the art of manifestation. So I'm going to pull up my outline so I don't misspeak. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so first of all, as I mentioned, my name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. And so what we want to talk about is setting your intentions so that we can stay committed to whatever you want to accomplish, right? So whatever your goal is, it's important to not only do the steps that it takes, but to manifest what you want to happen. Because if you don't do that, then you're kind of just going to be going along with life and going along with the flow, which there's going to be a lot of curveballs that come in your journey to accomplishing whatever goal you're trying to accomplish. So manifesting is important because it helps keep you focused. It helps keep you committed because, again, there's going to be curveballs. That is a guarantee. So if you manifest, you can really visualize what you want, what accomplishing that goal looks like, what you want your life to look like, what you want your family to look like, all of that stuff. It makes it much more likely that it will actually happen. Okay, so we do have a graphic on the art of manifestation. If we could pull that up, and basically throughout the episode, we're just going to go through each of these steps that we kind of outlined on how to manifest what you want. So the first thing is set your intentions. So that is, and we got the little like target sign, and that just means like, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to accomplish? And I think it's important when you set those intentions to be as much as possible like specific. What exactly do you want to happen? So right, to say I want to own a home, it's a great goal and a great thing to want to manifest, but that's saying I want to own a home is still a very broad goal, right? Where do you want to own this home? What type of home do you want to own? Is it you want to own it to live in it yourself? Are we talking about an investment property? These are all things that you want to outline when you're looking at saying that I want to own a home. So, if you've heard of SMART goals, the acronym is, hopefully I don't butcher this, specific, measurable, uh, what's the A? Attainable?
Attainable,
Attainable.
realistic.
Thank you. And time bound.
Time, yes.
Yes. So those are all things to keep in mind when you are setting your intention. You want to be as specific as possible.
Yes.
If you have anything, I know you didn't hear a lot of them.
I mean, the only thing that I will add is how important it is to start with the end in mind. Right. So I believe for us, when we both graduated from college, we knew we didn't want to work a 9 to 5 forever. Right. I think some people, like, they enter the workforce thinking, cool, I'm going to put in my 20 years, my 30 years. This is my retirement plan. No shade to anyone who does that. Like, that's like a really good route to go. But for us, we knew, okay, in 10 years, we want to be full-time entrepreneurs. In 10 years, we want to own a home. In 10 years, we want to be able to travel. In 10 years, we want to be able to do what we're passionate in to make money. And we knew that as soon as we graduated from college. So all of the kind of the small little steps, the starting TH4, the starting the YouTube channel, getting 1-2 views back in the day, the travel retreats, like everything that we've been doing is leading up to what we want our 10-year vision to look like. And at this point, we're about halfway in, right? Because we graduated 2016, it's 2021. So we're 5 years into that 10-year vision. And I mean, looking at it, I think we're pretty good at being almost halfway to
pretty much
what we want to be, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's the only thing that I'll sprinkle on that. I heard a little bit of what you were saying. That's the only thing I'll add.
Do we have the a video?
We do have some videos and graphics in here. We'll see if Jair can work some magic and pull those up. But it was a video on the first podcast, no, the second episode of the True or Forever podcast that we ever did. Sheesh. Right. So again, like, just setting the attention. This was in 2019, and Jair, if you can cue that video up. I think it's a nice throwback to where we've come from, for sure. Like, this was not live. This was, I think, Santa Barbara.
You
remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah,
that was fun.
So yeah, I think it's cool that we can still look back, for podcast episodes and videos 2 years ago and see, how we've progressed, how we've changed a little bit. That was literally an outside venue. Like, it was like real random. Like, let's just go do a podcast outside. Right. But yeah.
But I think the other, like, I think setting your intentions, it sounds very abstract. So I think we also have like some questions you can ask yourself when you're trying to set your intentions. These are questions that you can answer that will help clarify that vision a little bit. So I know we have a graphic for this as well, the CS in 10 years graphic. If we could throw that up, and we'll talk a little bit about what are some questions you can ask as you are trying to set your intentions. So see us in 10 years. That's kind of like our motto.
Yep.
As he just said, we made our 10-year plan. And so that's been kind of our motto throughout all of this, to say, like, keep going, see us in 10 years, and how in all those, all the steps we're going to make and where we're going to be. So the first thing is, who do you want to be and who do you want to help? So I think the first part is, like, literally, who do you want to be in 10 years? You're going to be, if you accomplish everything you want, you're ideally going to be a different person, right? You're going to be, you're going to have a lot of growth. You're going to have new habits. You're going to have, hopefully, any areas of improvement you have now, you've overcome those. So what does that new you look like? And then who do you want to help? Hopefully in your mission or whatever you want to do, you are helping somebody throughout your journey. So I think it's important to outline who exactly is your target audience. Who do you want to impact most in this world?
Yep. And then next, what do you want to be doing with your time? Very, very crucial, at least for us, when we're living our best life. Some of that involves, like, having control over your time. And for me, like, going to Tulsa was a dope, I guess, sneak peek into what I could be doing with my time, because if every day it was exhausting. I'm not going to front like that was a walk in the park. Like, I was exhausted at the end of the day. But, like, if every day I'm able to sell board games, talk about financial literacy, be with the queen, my dad, my friend, and we're all traveling representing the brand, like, that's a fun use of my time. And although it was again, very exhausting. Like I still felt very fulfilled at the end of that. So think about what is it that you want to do with complete ownership and control over your time.
Yes. The next one is, where do you want to live and where do you want to travel?
Yes.
So that's a good one, I think, when you're just looking at your overall life, right?
Mm.
Is in 10 years, where do you actually want to be stationed? Essentially. If it is in the same place, great. But if you don't limit yourself necessarily, right? If you want to go internationally and you want to be in Italy, great, make it happen.
Live that
right?
life.
But you have to set the intention first.
Right.
So yeah, I think, and then also if you're into traveling, where do you want to be able to travel to? I know we've got a very long list of places.
Indeed, you do.
I mean, you do. We do.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's also important to map out.
Yes, and last but not least, I see you snuck in a little dog in here. You think you slick? Oh, listen, y'all. She be making these graphics, and she thinks she's slick. She put a dog in there. But why is this? Why is this important to you? All right. So when you think of this 10-year manifestation, when you think of who you want to help, when you think of what you want to be doing with your time, what is that motivation? And the motivation, y'all, is crucially important because you will be tested.
Yes.
You will be tried, right? You will see many valleys in your journey to that mountain. And y'all have heard us like talk about the valleys all the time, right? But having that why, that motivation, whether the motivation is apparently a beautiful dog, whether the motivation is a beautiful family of 5 melanated chocolate geniuses, whether the motivation is being able to your kids just grow up with endless possibilities, right? I think if our kids grow up seeing what we've done and what we actively do, I just feel like they'll be able to dream and really do almost anything. And I feel like that's a huge motivation for us, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, start with the end in mind, but also start with that why, start with that drive that's motivating you to.
Yep. And I think just to add on is it really does have to be a powerful why, because you have to, that the strength of your why has to outweigh any of the stress or the trauma, the whatever that your obstacles are going to bring. Your why has to be that strong.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll run into an obstacle and you'll give up on that dream. So it has to be a strong why, right? If it's your kids, you're not going to give up on your kids, hopefully. So have a really strong why that's not going to dissipate, that's not going to disappear, that's not going to weaken, as you go along your journey.
Love it. So if you're watching this on the live or on the replay, go ahead and put some of these answers or write it down in your notebook. Maybe you don't have to be so public with it, but write down these answers, write down these questions, and maybe once a year, twice a year, you come back to these questions and see how things are moving and see how things are progressing. Okay. Good, Queen?
Yep.
All right. Up next on the art of manifestation is what, my Queen?
Build your habits.
This is a crucial one right here. So for me, when I think of building your habits, and we kind of did this in the under construction retreat that we had, right? We set out like, what are the habits that you need to do every single day to be successful? What are the things you need to do it once a week to be successful,
Right.
once a month, once a year, and really map out like to reach your goal in 10 years, what does a successful week look like? To reach your goal in 10 years, what does a successful month look like? So Queen, for you.
Yes.
Habits. What are some habits that you've adopted or that you plan to adopt that will help you become the #1 health coach in the world, beat out Sean Stevenson and all the other people out there? Yeah. We coming for you. Well, I mean, she's coming for you, and I'm just gonna be, training and helping her out, do her thing. We coming for you.
Hey. Let's see. Habits, some that I have right now that I think will not only help me now, but continue to help me will be relevant stress management.
Yeah.
Stress management is crucial because, again, those obstacles, they're going to come. That is a guarantee, 100%. And I think stress management is a way to, you're not going to be able to, I feel like sometimes we always say like stress, either reduction or like try to get rid of your stress. for some of that you can. There's a lot of unnecessary stress that we all go through that we can probably reduce. But there's a lot of stress that it's just going to come. You're not going to be able to get rid of it. So it's important to just be able to manage your mental health, your body in those times.
Like when your neighbor randomly texts you saying, "Hey, there's an extremely loud noise coming from your apartment. Is there water running?" Stress. Like that.
I literally, we were sitting at breakfast and I had to stop and just do a couple breathing exercises because I was like, I feel it, right? I know for me, when when you like drop your phone and you get instantly like tense up, you get that instant like like that little mini like almost like heart attack like feeling where like you kind of tense up. I felt that, as soon as he was like, did you leave water on? I'm like, oh, like did I don't remember it, but you get that instant like tense feeling, and I felt that. And so as soon as I feel that, I have now trained myself that as soon as I feel that, I try to combat it as much as possible. So breathing, doing my abdominal breaths, so breathing, through the gut as much as possible, slow breaths. That is definitely helpful. So that's something that I want to continue doing. Definitely, getting daily movement in, I think is important for a lot of reasons. One, yes, it does, release dopamine. You get that. I literally feel better afterwards. But also, obviously, as a health coach, I like to try to do, different things so that I can share those practices with other people. So I've been dabbling into the world of functional mobility, and it's fun. And I, have extra motivation to now keep going with it and keep learning, because I think it's something that we all should, literally everybody should do at some point. Is working out with the idea or with the goal that you are trying to prolong your mobility. You're trying to improve your functional mobility, meaning, allowing your body or making sure your body can do the things that it needs to for as long as possible, if that makes sense. I want to be able to play with my great grandbabies, you know what I'm saying? Other habits. A habit that I would like to get better at, I'm not consistent with it, but I know can definitely help, is affirmations. I know you had that point of time when you're doing like 100, and I was like,
highly recommend it. It's a challenge, but I felt great after that. You write 100 positive things about yourself. How can you not feel great?
Yeah, that's discipline to definitely do that every day. But every now and then I will, when I remember in the morning, I like to like look at myself in the mirror and I say like 3 affirmations. Something about you're smart, you're brilliant, and I always add in there, you are patient. Because I know that that's something that I struggle with, is patience.
You trick yourself into
exactly. So yeah, I think those would be probably 3 habits that I know help me now, but will help me moving on into the future.
Nice. For me, and question for you, whoever is watching or listening, think about, again, that 10-year goal. I want to be financially free. I want to have a home. I want to be the best movie producer in the world. Take that big, huge goal and chop that down into a habit, right? So for me, I want to be known as a Black Studies educator, and then I also want to be, I'm trying to think which manifestation I'm going to put out into the world here, but I feel like I'm also wanting to be someone who is financially free. I'll say that, right? At a minimum, someone who's financially free and helps others to become financially free. So some of the habits that I've built into is constantly consuming Black studies. The Queen will let you know it is probably,
No, kid, go ahead.
It is probably a problem how many books get delivered to our house. Right. And I got a book in my backpack. Like whenever we travel, I'm bringing at least 2 or 3 books, because on a daily or at minimum a weekly basis, I want to be consuming that content, right? Even stuff that I already know. Like if I know about Black Wall Street, I think there's still more I can learn. And that's why we went to Tulsa, to continue to learn. That's why I bought Hannibal B. Johnson's books, to continue to learn from it, even though I'm already a quote unquote authority in the knowledge. I feel like there's always more I can learn to become an expert and just know more stuff. So that's one. Continue to learn your lane. The affirmations, like the Queen says, love my daily affirmations, right? I'm a king. I'm a brilliant husband. I'm a genius. I am strong. Thank you, baby. I am beautiful. Like all those things, I just say those affirmations on a constant basis, write them down. My daily yoga sessions, even while traveling, I'll be, in Nana's living room, probably looking a little bit crazy, doing my yoga, doing my push-up, because I know when I work out, I feel better. Right. And ideally, this morning, I did it after we already started working. Ideally, I try to get my workout in before I work, right? Before I'm flooding my brain with stress, I try to get my dopamine, get my workout in beforehand. What else do I do? Oh, my cup of water in the morning is also on that. Even here, I got my water. I squeezed my lime. I found some chili powder in Nana's thing, put my chili powder in there, and I'm still drinking what I would probably drink when I'm at home. Okay. So long story short, build your habits.
Yep.
Right. Every castle, every amazing piece of real estate has its foundation. It has its bricks or stucco or wood, all that stuff that it's made out of. For this metaphor, let's think of an old school castle that's made of bricks. What are your bricks? What are the things that you are laying down every day, every week, every month, to where after years you're going to step back and be like, dang, look at this castle I just built out of just daily habits, weekly habits. Okay.
I like that metaphor because it's like when you think about I'm going to build a house, that sounds like a very bodacious goal of like bodacious. Like I would know where to start. But when you think about like brick by brick, you literally how do you build again for this metaphor, a brick house is by brick. That is the only way. So if you think about it that way, like, oh, I'm going to build a house. How? By laying 10 bricks a day. Obviously that would take you a very long time. But if you just think about breaking it up into just bite-sized pieces, it seems way more doable. If I told you all you had to do is lay 10 bricks a day, you'd be like, oh, easy. Yep. Right. But if I told you had to build a house, you're gonna be like, whoa.
Yep. That's while we pull up what's next, that's another line in one of my songs.
Yeah.
Brick by brick, we'll show you how to build a castle.
Yeah.
I'm probably up in here. Layers.
All right. Can we pull up the graphic so we can see what is next? I believe it is commit, but I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, it's either commit or
the art of manifestation graphic. Thank you, Jair.
Boom.
Commit to the process. So, a little signature there. And I don't put the signature because it signifies committing, right? That's usually what you do. I try to think about like, what's something symbolically you usually do after you commit?
Yeah, when you sign your life over.
A signature is a very strong, I am committing to this.
Listen, when y'all buy your first house or second house and you get that stack of papers, look, you go feel that commitment. You go feel that stress.
Each one is like,
That was one of the most stressful times of my life, right? Yeah. And I knew it was a positive thing too. It was just so much paperwork.
Right.
Oh,
each signature, you're like, what am I?
Right. Let me read
committing
all this.
to right
What does
now?
that word mean? Bodacious. What? But commit to the process. Queen, do you want to jump in first? You want me to jump in first?
You got it.
So this is basically saying, right, no matter what is going up and down, commit to going through this process and understanding that it will be a process. And I think the direct metaphor that we made is, y'all know whenever we, what? What?
No, I'm waiting to hear. I'm looking at the outline and I'm waiting to hear what you're going to say.
So usually we kind of do the metaphor of like planting something, right? It's like when you're planting your seeds, you're harvesting all of that stuff. It's a metaphor of plants. Growing a plant must go through a certain process. Every plant or most plants need to go through photosynthesis, right? That's the process. There is no growing of a plant by avoiding that process. You can trick it a little bit, right? So if you want to grow your plants indoors, instead of sunlight, you use UVs. Instead of regular water, you can use mineral water. You can, instead of natural soil, you put your own soil in. It's like you can kind of replace things in the process. But yet at the end of the day, photosynthesis is the process that will grow this plant, and you need to make sure you are hitting all those points inside of the system or inside of the process for that plant to grow. What you need to do is, what is your photosynthesis, right? So the sun, what gives you energy? So for me, getting energy is interacting with people, So I know in my process, if I'm not interacting with people at all, I'm not going to make it all 10 years, right? Because that's what gives me energy. The next thing is what is your water, right? For me, water is kind of maybe some of the life talks we'd be having. I feel like that's like good water, that's that good blood circulation. But find out, what is your water? Soil, right? What is going to be the foundation? What is your plant grow out of? And for me, maybe it's Black studies, the Black community, financial literacy. That's kind of like my base soil that my plant is growing out of, right? So kind of an interesting metaphor, but long story short, what is your process? What is your photosynthetic process? What is your carbon life cycle process? Whatever it is, figure out what are those points in the process and commit to that process, and understand that there is no growing of this fruit without you hitting some of these points within the process. Queen, I see the look. Do you have a remix you want to throw in that?
Not a remix, but just I think when we say the word commit, um, it sounds nice and it's easy to verbally say, yes, I commit. It is another thing to like practice what you preach. So what does that commitment look like? It looks like, again, when those obstacles come, you just do whatever you have to do to get around it, to go under it, to go jump over it, to drive around it, whatever you need to do. You get past that obstacle though, and you keep the goal in mind. So when we think about, like, our obstacles, I think one of the bigger ones that we do bring up on the podcast a lot, but it is a very good, I think, metaphor of just a very big obstacle, was our Kickstarter. For Black Wall Street, the board game. When we initially were trying to get our first, big order, we did our MVP. We had got it designed, we got the samples, and we were ready to do that big order. We launched a Kickstarter, and we set it for $25,000, I think, and ended up making like 5 to 6,000. So if you know Kickstarter, unless you make all the money, you get none of it. And so in those moments, those are the moments when you need to remember, I've committed to this, whatever it is, right? So that means that you just find another way. And that's exactly what we did, right? So we just funded it ourselves. And we ended up, selling out of that first edition within a couple months. But
appreciate you for all the first edition folks out there, those rare breeds. We appreciate you.
Definitely. But yeah, I think it's just important. And this is something that, I'm definitely learning and going through day by day. When we're talking about potluck, that's something that definitely, it's a great idea. I've committed to it, and it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of
grit.
Yes, grit. I'm just like, what is the word? I think grit is good. Of just like, man, things are not going the way I want them to go, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop, right? That just means that to try a little bit harder, that means maybe you got to switch the approach. You just have to figure out, how do we pivot this to make it work? But it's not pretty. It's not fun to have to, go over those obstacles, but it is absolutely a part of the process. It is part of the photosynthesis, right? There is no being successful without hitting those obstacles and moving past them. And I think sometimes when we think about a goal and we visualize it, we manifest it, but we usually don't manifest, or we usually don't think about things going wrong. Because that's not the ideal world, right? In the ideal world,
the dream.
But in the ideal world, I would just say what I want to do and it would happen exactly how I want. But that, you don't always think about, like, well, shoot, what if we start this grant program and nobody applies? And you're like, shoot, I didn't think about that. So yeah, I think it's just important in those moments to realize that it's not going to be pretty. But that is the grind. That is the commitment.
One more thing, when you brought up the Kickstarter, I think another part of that is, yes, it was a barrier, and that's definitely something that's in the process. But I think where we messed up, and I'll say where I messed up, is marketing wasn't really included in the process, but it's a huge part of any type of business, right? If you're not marketing, that is like, again, a huge point of the cycle of photosynthesis in business, right? So the fact that we weren't doing that, it was almost like we were set up to fail in the beginning. So knowing what are the key points, like have your checklist, have your standard operating of procedures, right? Shout out to Star, who was teaching us about that earlier. Like have your things where every product, every business, every venture that I'm doing, this is the things that have to get done every single time. And I think as you get into entrepreneurship more and more, you start to realize what's your personal checklist, right? You may start off with a general checklist that you get off of a podcast or off of the internet. But as you're going and you're doing your own ventures, you realize, I need to do a podcast episode about each product before I launch the product. That makes me feel more comfortable. Or, oh, actually, before I launch this, I need to talk to 10 potential customers and get their feedback on it. And then I feel comfortable and real successful. Like you're going to find your own rhythm and your own process as you go along. But it's, I think, vital to find what your process is and then write it down and keep going to it every single time without fail, or improve upon it each time, but don't decrease from it, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Cool. Ready to go to the next one?
Let's hit it, Queen. So after you commit, what do you do?
Can we pull up that graphic? Yeah. After you commit to the process, get rid of the bad energy.
Listen, crucial.
So as you're going along in your journey, as we already talked about, there are going to be a lot of obstacles. You're already going to get, though that I don't want to say negative energy. It is whatever you put into it is what's going to come out of it. But there are going to be, things that you don't expect that come up. And you need to do your best to maintain a positive, mindset, a positive environment around you during those times. And it is not helpful to do that if you have bad energy in your life. And that can look like a lot of different things. So that can look like, one-way friendships. That can look like, having, if you live with or have a partner or have a friend or, have a coworker or whoever who's like that Debbie Downer all the time, it's going to be hard to keep your spirits up if you are surrounded by that negative energy. And that's something that I know that I had to work on. I think I would say in the last couple years, and I noticed that, and we had some very candid conversations on, he is the most optimistic person that I know. He is. And I had to realize, and he had to, really let me know, like, hey, when I'm trying to stay in that optimistic mode, it's really hard when you are not. When you are, I hope I've gotten better.
Yes, you have gotten.
Thank you. I've gotten better at catching myself, and I know that my natural tendency is to go the more realistic route, which can sometimes, especially to an optimistic, seem pessimistic. But I'm really just trying to make sure that we don't get our hopes too high, right? But at the same time, that is not helpful when you are trying to stay in that optimistic mindset. So that's definitely something that I had to work on, because I can't, if he's the optimistic one, right, I definitely can't make it so that he no longer feels optimistic, because then we're really in trouble. So that's what I had to realize. Like, you can't be the reason that our mindset is not conducive of moving forward in the process.
Right. There's like three more types. Let me see if I can read. So there's another one called the complainer, which is kind of like the Debbie Downer or the Debbie Doubter, but more so like every time someone texts you, every time someone calls you, they're always giving you some type of negative thing. Like, this is what's happening at my job. This happened to my car. This is happening with my hair. Oh my gosh, I just did. And it's just like, okay, is anything positive happening? Right? Like, what is going on? Every time you're talking to me, it's always negative. And again, that negative energy, that complaining energy, for me, brings down my vibes, bring down my frequencies, right? So then after the phone call or after the text message, now I'm like, dang, that sucks. Yeah. Right now, I'm down for the rest of the day. Not to say that you shouldn't be able to reach out to your friends and complain and vent. No, but please make sure, like, if you're listening to this, you're like, is that me?
Right.
I don't know. Like, you want to balance it out. So when something good happens, you should hit that same person up, not just when something bad happens. Right. The other thing on here was the handout committee.
I want to hear this.
Listen, you got to be careful, especially me, because I'm a yes person. Right? I'm a people pleaser. I like to help my friends whenever I can, and you have to make sure that you keep the handout committee in check. These are the people that are saying, "Hey, can you come over and help me do this? Hey, I need you to do this for me. Can you edit this? Hey, I'm moving. Can you do this?" No shade to the person that we just helped move, because you don't ask for that much, but you need to make sure you are regulating how much energy is going out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of energy can go out, and sometimes, like with these one-way friendships, maybe there's no energy coming in. A good example of this, to where sometimes I think I'm doing this and I check it, is sometimes with Markel. Because I ask Markel for a lot of stuff, like, "Hey Markel, can you edit this? Hey Markel, I need this. Hey Markel, we got this for the game. Hey, we need this for the t-shirt." And I make it a point to ask, like, "What do you need from me?" Or sometimes I'll just randomly hit him up, like, "Hey, are you okay? How you doing? How's this idea going?" Because I know I do ask for him for some stuff. Some stuff is paid, some stuff is unpaid, and I don't want to be president of the handout committee. So I make a point to always ask, "Hey bro, what you need from me? How can I be of service to you?" Right? So if you're the person that's always asking, make sure randomly you're also the person that will say, "How can I be of service to you? How can I pour into your cup?" Okay. And the very last one,
Shark Tank. Shark Tank contestants.
The Shark Tank contestants. Y'all know? Do you know what I mean by Shark Tank contestants? Listen, you ever have somebody text you or call you, be like, "Hey, I got this really good idea." Right? You know, it's like, "Hey, what you should be doing is you should be doing this." Oh, okay. I like this board game, but have you ever thought of making the board game into an app? Right. It's like, or like, "I like what you're doing with the podcast, but have you ever thought about da 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 da?" It's like, again, I like ideas, but at the same time, for me personally, I'll talk for myself. It can get anxious when there's so many ideas coming, because there's only so much time, right? I know I have ideas in my head that I still want to get done. The queen has ideas in her head that want to get done. So it can cause increased anxiety if more family members, friends, random people DMing, much love to all the people that want to pour into our cup. At the same time, if it's a idea that still needs a lot of flushing out, if it's an idea that still needs to be built up and eventually needs to be 100% executed, right? That's just more on the plate. So sometimes I sidestep these conversations, right? I'll be like, "Okay, I'll write that down and I'll get to it later. I'm not going to execute it right now." And I used to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get on that next week," right? Like that was like 2020 Devon, 2019 Devon. I'm like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let me do it. Oh, thank you for letting us know. I'm gonna get on it right now." And yeah, that just was so much anxiety, so much energy for me. So now at this point, I'm just like, "Okay, I'll write that down. Thank you for letting us know. So it's a great idea, and I'll get to it. If you want to do that idea before us, like, hey, that's all you. Like, you can do that idea. We won't be mad at all. But right now, we can't do it at this time. But it's on the list. Appreciate you."
I think what also can be draining in the idea, in from the lens of like people bringing ideas, is when they bring ideas for like that they want to do, and maybe they're asking for feedback or something like that, which once, twice, not bad. But when it's like when the same person comes and asks for ideas, like different ideas, right? They switch now they switch their mind. They have a different idea. All right, now I'm switching up. And every couple months it's got a different idea. That is also draining, because I feel like people don't realize that once you share an idea, you're sharing it with the intention of getting some feedback. So that's energy that we'd have to provide on like, "Oh, I like that idea. However, what about this?" Right? And it's like you put a little bit of your energy and your like time into it, and you want it to succeed. Otherwise you wouldn't listen or be getting any type of feedback.
Put your manifestation energy into something that they don't even plan on manifesting.
Yes. Right. And that can get draining after a couple of times.
Right.
So I think that's another thing of like, for you may have to get to a point where you're like, "Hey, this is a great idea. However, I'm not going to be able to be the one to, give you that feedback right now because I'm protecting my own energy. And I think if you come, these conversations may not always be easy, but I think if you come from the lens of like, I'm trying to protect my own energy, hopefully the other person can understand like, okay, let me just step back for a second. And, it's nothing personal, put it that way. It's always just, trying to make sure you stay in the right mindset to accomplish your goals.
Right. So as y'all are on your 10-year, your 20-year, your 30-year journey to manifesting your amazing dream that you've envisioned for yourself, please just look out for some of those leaks of energy, right? The Debbie Doubters, right? Check them. Doesn't mean you have to cut everyone out of your life that does these things, but be intentional and be conscious of the people and the things that are taking a little bit of energy from you, and regulate that as best you can. That way you have as much energy as you need and as your family needs to make your dream a reality.
Yep.
All right, Queen, what's after this? I believe it's time to scale up.
I think we have one more. Can we pull up the graphic, please, Jay?
Can we get to the scaling?
Self-affirm.
Oh, that's the order. Oh, okay. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, my bad. Just like left to right. Like
I was wondering. I was like,
self-affirm. I know this is one of your favorite topics.
It is one of my favorite topics. It's one of the things that I don't do well in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
I do really good at the daily self-affirmations, but I don't do too well. And I need to get better at this, at being like, you made a board game.
Yeah.
You've sold thousands of copies. And I'm practicing this. I don't say this often, so I know.
Does it still feel uncomfortable for you?
It still feels like slightly uncomfortable. Like, you've sold thousands of copies of your board game to literally people internationally all over the world. People who have never met you before in your entire life play your board game on a weekly basis. Like, that is crazy to me. And I think I get into a habit of, we need to sell more games. We need to do this better. We need to make sure we're on the podcast on time. We're going to do this. But I don't as often take the nice little 30 seconds, minute, 2 minutes to be like, wow,
I'm the ish.
Yeah, I'm low key popping. Like, we went out to Tulsa and people wanted me to sign stuff and take pictures with me. Like, it's good, not in a gloating way, but literally just in a self-affirmation. Like, I'm doing what I was put on this earth to do. I created this 10-year vision, and we are taking tangible, measurable, small steps towards that 10-year vision. We're doing it, right? So on your journey, please take a little steps here or there. Kind of in our under construction, we kind of did that a little bit, which is why we want to do that on a yearly basis. But yeah, that's mainly what I wanted to say there, is take its time to really celebrate your small wins, for sure.
Yeah. I think the important part of the affirm is the self-affirm, right? So you need to be able to give yourself the affirmation. It's a little bit different than like looking for affirmations from other people, right? So if there's a different level of, I think, satisfaction you get when you're saying that to yourself versus like, I'm going to put up an Instagram post with the same thing and see how many likes I get, type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Unpack that. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I feel like there's another layer there.
I just think you need to be able to, and this is something I'm working on too, you need to be able to recognize for yourself, again, that I'm ish, right? You should need other people to affirm you for you to feel like that.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because I feel like that's also a dangerous slope, because as soon as you post about it, it's measurable. And if you don't get the likes that you thought you were going to get, now all of a sudden, like, that post, instead of being a self-affirmation post, becomes, I only got 100 likes. Last time I got 200 when I posted this other picture. People aren't liking this. Oh man, maybe I'm not successful, right? Yeah. So I feel like I've started posting less and less on my personal, and I've said it's purposeful. Kind of is, but at the same time, I feel like it's just I'm swamped with business. So I'm just like, I'm not really tripping on my personal at this point. But I personally don't post big wins on social media.
Right.
Like, when we talk about it on the podcast, because honestly, the people who listen to our podcast are like our ride or dies,
Mhm.
right? Shout out to everyone who's listening. Y'all are like our true supporters. We appreciate y'all, the family for sure. I feel like not necessarily everyone who follows you on social media is
Right.
rooting for you.
Right.
Right. There's some haters rooting for you, still double tapping, and they follow you just to follow you to see what you're doing.
Right.
But yeah, long story short, I feel like when we bought our home, dude didn't like post on social media, hey, we bought our house. No, it was we celebrated here, but we never posted that.
Like we moved.
Yeah, we moved, but we never said we bought anything. Like business deals that come through when we made our first $1,000, our first $2,000 off of a workshop. Didn't post that anywhere, but we said it here. And I feel like I'm very purposeful in not putting big wins publicly because I don't want to even trick myself into thinking that I need that type of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, hopefully that made sense. But long story short, self-affirm yourself, please.
I think just another thing, because there might be other folks out there like me as well, but one thing that I also have to watch is that I don't downplay my own success.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like because I have lofty goals and it's like I accomplished something and I'm already, before I even like finish, I'm already worried about the next thing, which is good because it keeps you going, right? But it also like you need to stop and celebrate the wins. I think it just helps like recharge and again reaffirm why you're doing what you're doing, to kind of give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back, because again, we're all human. We all need a little bit of that like motivation. Or alien.
Are we all human?
I think even aliens need affirmation.
I would agree with that. We do.
But yeah, I think I have to watch that. Like, even when like, okay, so I got my MBA. I think throughout the whole process of doing that, I was like, oh, just finish. It was a lot to do with the full-time job, with planning our wedding, with the different businesses that we run. But I was like, just finish. You're almost there. And then I finished. And I immediately was like, okay, which health coach certification am I going to be like? And initially we were like, go to the graduation. We're going to make a whole trip out of it. We're going to visit Memphis. And like realistically, he planned a surprise graduation. But aside from that, I really wasn't about to do anything. I didn't even take pictures. Like I was like, oh, I stopped and I was like, before I actually got the degree, I was like, I want to take grad pictures. I want to go to the graduation. I want to walk across the stage. And yes, thankfully I had the king looking out for me. But when it actually happened, like all of the excitement that I wanted to do to celebrate, it didn't happen because I was still worried about the next thing. So I think it's important to like allow yourself to pump yourself up a little bit. Again, I think it's dangerous to get in the mindset where you need it from other folks, but I think it's good to do it for yourself. If no one else is going to do it, root for yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back and say, good job, you did that. And that's something that I'm dealing with. I feel like I always am like, oh, when I finish this, I'm gonna feel so, and then I finish it and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, like was it really that hard? Like those are the things that I start to put into my mind that make me not feel like it was that great of an accomplishment. And it's like, no, that was good. That was still, a very hard thing to accomplish, and you still deserve a little bit of praise for that. So give yourself that. Rather than downplaying it all the time.
When you finish your FDN, is that going to be around the time we go to
finish? No.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm gonna try to finish the course. There's all of the exams that need to happen after that take another month at least to.
Have you already thought about how you want to celebrate that piece? See, live self-affirming going on right here, y'all. So when you
have a bottle of wine that we're waiting to open for that. Oh no, that was my first.
No, that's your first client. But I mean, if you want to shift it to when you get your certification, we can shift it.
I have not thought about that.
Okay. Well, think about it.
Will do.
Yes, ma'am. All right. See what I'm saying? Look, live. It's the beauty about having live podcasts. You can kind of have a nice little freestyle interaction. Yeah. It's good stuff. Okay. Now we're at scaling up.
Yes.
The last one.
Yes.
All right. So after you've set your intentions at the beginning, you build your daily, your weekly, your monthly, your annual habits. You've committed to the process. You've gone through all your ups and downs. You've gotten rid of or minimized your bad energy that's around you, whether that's people, whether that's TV shows, whether that's the neighborhood that you're in. You've gotten into the habit of self-affirming yourself and celebrating your small wins. Now it is time for you to take your amazing talents, take your product, take your business, and scale it up. Okay, so and at this point, maybe you've gone back and you've reassessed, hopefully once or twice before getting to the scale up portion. But at this time, it's like, how can I have this business working without me working? Right? How can I, instead of just helping one person for 1 hour, how can I help 10 people in that 1 hour? Right. So, Queen, anything that you want to sprinkle on this, the scaling up portion? I definitely have at least one or two nuggets, but anything you want to talk about from the maybe the health perspective side or the processing side that you have?
I was just gonna touch on so we talked about this in the Black Love Roundtable for Black Future Month yesterday.
Shout out to everyone who supported
Yes.
Black Future Month. Shout out to Miss Jakayla, Rachel, Alexis, Marlon, Antonio, Sinclair, Maquiba, Mika.
All that.
Yeah, it was a good group of people. Josiah came to a few ones. My bad. So everyone who came in, I'm sure there's a few more in there, but much love.
So we talked about building the business, building whatever business in a way that you don't have to be present and actively working in order for your income to be coming in, right, all the time. And the reason why you want to do that is you need to allow for life to happen. So, right, if something happens and you are, you fall ill, or, you need to, you have a family member pass away or something, you need to step away from the business for a second. You need to be able to do that without your source of income. Yes, knock on wood, without your source of income fading away, right? Without depleting your source of income. You need to be able to have outsource, whether that's finding a replacement for whatever you're doing. I feel like that's probably like the lowest hanging fruit. I think ideally you'd want to, make sure you have enough team members or automate your process as much as possible, so that you don't, your business is not necessarily trading time for money, but more just trading your talents, which is not always like a 1-to-1 ratio. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Exchange, that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, if you take what you know and you can start off maybe doing one-on-one coaching or one-on-one consulting, okay, you do that for a little bit. You learn the lay of the land. You learn, what struggles a lot of people go through. You probably have some trends. You probably have some data you can use to now build a course, right? And you can build a course out. And if you make that course something where it's just videos and readings and things like that, now you can sell that course. And the only time you've really spent is the time to build out the course, right? After that, all of the money that you get from people who buy the course is almost like passive income, right? I don't have to do anything else after that. The course is out into the world. Now people can find it. They'll take the course. They'll love it. They'll refer somebody else. And now you've got a steady flow of income without having to physically teach a course, without having to physically exchange your time. So I think that would be an example of scaling up, going from like 1-to-1 coaching to like building a course that multiple people can be taking at any given time.
Yeah. Personally, and I think culturally, as Black folks or people of color, we are taught that making money, like you need to work. You need to work hard to make your money and to make your living, and to be respected. Speaking now as a Black man, to be respected in the community, you need to be a hard worker. I feel like I'm growing, like for a few years, been growing out of that, and more recently growing completely out of that. Like, I don't think you need to be, digging dirt or digging holes, have calluses on your hands, and like do all that like really hard labor type work that our ancestors used to have to do in order to make a living and call yourself a hardworking man. I think we're out of that. And if you start your process, start your intentions with the intention of in 10 years, I'm not going to be doing this work. If you can start off that way, and I wish we would have started off that way a little bit better. I think in our head when we started off, we were probably still working in 10 years. Like we were doing work for ourselves, but I don't think when we started, we were like, we're not going to work at all. Right. Whereas now we're like, we don't want to work at all. But if you're able to, from the beginning, write down your processes, right? And I had a great meeting with, was it Dari? I'm mispronouncing your name, but I'm pretty sure it's Dari. And she's a coach, and she was telling me like, okay, what you need to start doing is how you respond to emails. Write down all your types of responses. That way you can now hire someone else to respond to emails, but they'll respond the way you respond because you can have all your things, right? Or what you need to start doing is separating your emails to, okay, this is my Playback Wall Street email. This is my Truvel Forever email. This is my podcast email. This is my course email. That way, again, you can give someone the password, you can give them a login, and they can do all that stuff. And they don't have your personal email with everything going on in there. So if you start with the intention of eventually I'm going to hire employees to do X, Y, and Z, then when that time comes, it's a smoother transition. Yep. Number 2, 3, 4, I don't know what number I'm on. But another thing is figure out what is taking the most time. And like the Queen said, how can I automate those things? So one thing that we've already automated was y'all were asking all types of questions about the board game, right? And I loved it. At first, I was like answering all types of calls. People were calling me drunk, like, what are these? What are the rules? And I was explaining them the rules. I was like, you can read the rule book. They're like, yeah, we're not reading right now. And I was like, all right, let me talk you through it. Or people would DM the Playback Wall Street, DM the Truvel Forever, send us emails about just questions on the game. And a lot of the time was going to answering these questions. So we created an automated bot that is now on the website that has all types of answers to questions on how to play the game. And I remember like being very excited one night telling the Queen, I was like, Queen, I built a bot. Yes. It's ready. And then I was like, you can still see the questions come in and you can see the bot automatically answering the question. I was like, Queen, it answered the questions. It worked. I didn't have to do anything. And right then I just freed up probably 2, maybe 3 hours a day of my time, right? And stress decreased. So figure out what is your time going to and how can you automate that? Number 2 thing, and then we can wrap up, is when we were in PH, we were shipping all of our games. Yep. And again, at first, it's a cool vibe. It's like, okay,
it might be necessary at first.
Right. Also might be necessary. And I think for us, it was completely necessary at that time. But it was a cool little vibe, me, my bride, or me, my fiance bride to be in the living room. We got a living room full of boxes, we out here printing. I used to say everyone's name, like, oh, Caleb Brown in North Carolina. Oh, we got Jesse Walker in Riverside. Oh, and it was exciting, right? Until they kept on, coming in, and months later, and now it's like, all right, we got Travis something in, right now it's 1 a.m. and you're still packing up all these things, and yeah, it's just a lot of time. So now we have a nice little warehouse, right, where we're able to have the orders come in, and automatically 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 7 p.m., no matter what time it is, they're going out automatically. And yes, it costs us a little bit of the profits, but because we have other things we're doing with our time, because we have, the podcast, the 9 to 5, the wanting to travel, right? If we want to travel now we need to schedule traveling around orders. Knowing me, I'll be 100% stressed the entire vacation. If I know orders aren't going out because I'm on vacation, I'm not. Sorry, Queen. Like I'm stressed. So I love the fact that we were able to find a way to automate that. And at all times, our orders can go out. They go out pretty quickly, and our customers are satisfied. So again, please try as best you can to, 1, accept that when you are successful, you will be doing less work, and that's okay. And number 2, find out what are the things that are taking time and energy, and how can you automate those things or outsource those things.
The last thing I want to add, and I'll use potluck as an example, is scaling up depending on what your business goals are. It might be necessary. Excuse me. So right, if we did not go to the fulfillment center route and have somebody doing that for us, we would have hit a glass ceiling at some point on the amount of orders we can send out, because it's all up to
I would have lost a lot of sleep and I would have went crazy.
But even if you literally pack boxes 24 hours a day, you still have a limit, right? You are not a machine.
I am not.
You still have a limit. So even though you can push the limit, you can stay up late nights, you can quit your day job and do it full time. Those are all things you can do. But at the end of the day, you are going to max out at some point, right? And so if you're cool with that, like, honestly, I enjoy this is what I want to be doing, then we're not really talking to you if that's your goal, right? We're talking to more of the folks of like, if you are trying to blow up, if you are trying to make this, so like if you are trying to have this in every Black household or every household, in America, that's not going to be possible if you have to physically send out every single box. Or it might be possible, but you're going to be there for 20 years. Yeah. But even then, like, there's always going to be, you won't be able to accomplish those goals. So for example, with potluck, at first I was doing one-on-one meetings with every single chef on every single step that needed to happen in order for them to get their permit. That was necessary at first because, one, I had to learn the process. Two, I wanted that one-on-one time with each chef to see, how are they doing and all that good stuff. But after a while, and this is even like the info sessions and things like that, we're working on how to automate that more. But after a while, it's like, I'm only going to be able to onboard one or two chefs at a time, just because it's a lot of time to set those one-on-one meetings. And it's stress. Those are like hour-long meetings. This is something totally new that, the person is not familiar with. And so it was like, I'm not physically going to be able to scale. If we want to have X amount of chefs on the platform, I'm not going to be able to do that just by myself. So then I took all of that information that we had learned in like a year and put it into a course. So now when someone is interested, I send them the link to the course and I'm done. Yep. And now it's just following up. Hey, how's it going? Hey, you got any questions? Right? I felt really good to send that email.
Listen, we talking to somebody out here. I'm telling you, there's certain things where it's like the sooner you do it and realize that you can do it, it just minimizes so much stress.
It does.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That was pretty much it. I think it's just, you really have to just find, I know it's hard, and it will take additional work to build the course, but it is absolutely worth it. Just think of it as an investment of time up front for all of the time you're about to save for the days and weeks, months, years ahead of you. So make the investment. Yes, it'll be a little bit more work up front. It might be a little bit more stress up front, but you will be so happy after that course is done, and you no longer have to do those one-on-one, consultations, coachings, meetings, whatever you want to call them. Again, if you enjoy that, then great. Then build your life. So that's how you spend your time. How we talked about earlier. How do you want to spend your time? If that's how you want to spend your time, perfect. Then build your life like that. But if one-on-one sessions was not a part of your list when you said how you want to spend your time, then build your business and your life out to where it is automated and it doesn't require that one-on-one time.
Beautiful smile, Queen. Jair, if you're ready, you can go ahead and put that up if it works. If not, we can go ahead and go into our wrap up. But again, we just really want to help just little bit of nuggets that we wish we learned a little bit sooner in our manifestation journey, and we encourage you all to start this manifestation. Yes, Queen, come on. So this is when the Queen dove into being the health nerd, when I kind of assumed my role.
Second episode, Queen. How'd you feel about that podcast?
It was a little bit longer, but I think that was because it was good, organic conversation. I feel like so. We'll probably do it into 2 parts. It was a good one.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
A lot of nuggets.
Veggie nuggets, not chicken nuggets. I love chicken nuggets. I miss them so much. But True Our Favorite Podcast, if you don't know, we started it. We haven't really pushed it and promoted it yet because we're trying to get a full season of recordings before we push it out there. But technically, they're already on Spotify. So if you want to check it out, True Health Forever Podcast, listen to us on Spotify. Give us some honest feedback on how we can get better. She gives some great nuggets. I give some cool nuggets. But let us know how we can do better. Always trying to grow.
Yep. We want the honest truth.
Yeah. For real, though.
Love it. So yeah, it's dope. One, record your process. That was nowhere in this manifestation, but that's something that I love to do and love to be able to look back at. Like that was episode 2. And now we're on episode 65.
65.
Right? Like almost 2 years later on episode 65, still rocking. I think at this point we're every week. I think maybe for that first year or so we were sometimes every week, sometimes not every week, but now we found our pretty good groove. We got Jair who's joining the team. We're on a different platform. We're doing it live now.
You have locks.
I have locks now, right? We own our house now. We are able to promote on Instagram and on Facebook before we go live. We do clips afterwards. Like it's completely transformed and grown since when we first conceived the idea of putting on a podcast. Yeah, anything that bring up any ideas or thoughts for you?
No, just like again, this is something that we do every week. So going back to like, I don't really, doing the podcast is not really something that I like pat myself on the back for, because it's a part of our routine now. It's just something we do. We sit here every week, we come up with a topic, make outline, we make our graphics, whatever, we do the marketing or whatever. Because it has come a part of our regular routine, it doesn't seem like an accomplishment. But we've done 65 episodes, right? What? That's crazy. Like that's a huge accomplishment. And so it is important to stop and have these moments where it's like, dang, we did that. Because it's like almost like refuel. Like, all right, let's keep going to another 65 more.
Right. When we meet CJ, ET, the whole team, like we can say, listen to our podcast.
Yes.
Right? And then they're going to ask, how many episodes you got? We can be like, 65. What's up? Listen to them.
Yeah.
Any of them. Except episode 3. Maybe skip episode 3. But yeah, I feel like we're doing our thing. Good job. I'm proud of your consistency. And thanks for making the graphics. Thanks for rocking with us and repping the TH4 brand.
Anytime. Thank you look, I'm going to be very honest. This man does a lot for this podcast. I just kind of get to be the talent and come here, and I do help with the outlines, but he does a lot of the behind the scenes work on it. Jair does a lot of editing as well. Appreciate you, Jair. But he does, some of the editing. He does a lot of the posting, scheduling, initiating the outline. So I appreciate you, King, for all that you do.
My honor. Free the queen.
Free the queen.
Free the queen. All right. So that is the bulk of the podcast. Definitely make sure y'all like, subscribe on YouTube. Definitely make sure you are giving us 5 stars, 4 stars. Hey, if you want to give us 2 stars and you want to be that rude person, no, I'm just kidding. But go ahead and give us a review on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. We appreciate you. Okay. Now, Queen, briefly, how was your week? Anything all right, unload on them.
No, I don't have too much to unload. It's just, it's like when you've had, I feel like I had a decent week. Yeah. I did. But of course, I feel like when things happen, there's a lot of fresh stress, still weighing. So it's like, that's what's mainly on my mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, overall, I actually had a pretty decent week. I mentioned maybe 2 podcast episodes ago that I was in one of those valleys. I was just not feeling it. I was hitting a lot of obstacles for all of the different ventures, hitting all the obstacles at once. And that's what you don't anticipate happening, right? You're like, oh, okay, this week I'll deal with this obstacle. And next week I'll probably have, something else. But no, how life happens is that it's all going to happen at once. And it's going to test you. So I was definitely going through that. But, been working my way out of it. And I've been proud of myself for doing that and being consistent. And really, the nugget that the King gave a couple episodes ago was what you do in the valleys determines if you ever see another mountain again. Or if you want to remix it, and it determines how soon you will see another mountain. And so I was in the valley and I was like, I'm ready for a mountain. So I made sure that all of the stress and frustration and, anger or whatever that I was feeling for those obstacles, as a result of those obstacles, I channeled that into action to get out of those obstacles. And I think that that's what's important. I did give myself like a day to just feel it. And that's something that I like to do, is just give yourself a day to feel it, because if you feel it, this doesn't feel good, I don't necessarily want to feel this again. It challenges again, it channels, then fuels that action, so that, let's go, so that we can get out of this feeling. So yeah, I gave myself like a day to really sit in that feeling. And then after that, the next day I'm like, all right, let's go. What are we doing? To-do list. Okay. To-do list, let's go. And yeah, I think we've I won't say like tackled the obstacles, but we've made our way around a lot of the obstacles that we were facing. So we on the up and up. We're not totally on the mountain yet, but we've made the trek. We're on the trek.
Yes, we found the path.
We found the path. Yes.
For sure. Well done. Wow. For me, been a pretty busy week. Started the voice course. That's been good. Shout out to the Black Business School, Miss Queen Carmelita Turner out here holding us down too. But started the voice course pretty strongly. But it was on the same day as a Black Future Month event as well. So there's a lot of going on that one day. But Black Future Month has been pretty good, right? And it's one of those things where it's like I need to affirm myself and say it was great compared to doing nothing. It was great compared to what we did last year. Was really just market the Black Future Month book. This year we had at least 8 events, right? We had at least 25. I need to check the registration, but at least 25 people registered for the Eventbrite itself. We've had at least 4 consistent partners. So it was a really good step in the right direction for Black Future Month. Got a lot of good informal feedback about what it was doing and what it can do, and even got 2 people interested in partnering for next year already. So yeah, shout out to Black Future Month. This is the first time you're hearing about it. It's June is Black Future Month. It's supposed to be a intentional kind of collaborative month of programming to envision a positive, prosperous Black future. Okay, separate from Black History Month. February, Carter G. Woodson, much love. June is gonna be Black Future Month from now on. So tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell everybody. Right? But yeah, I'm very, very proud of what we were able to do with that month, and excited to what we can do in the future, in person, hybrid, all that good stuff. Slightly stressed about this water, situation, and we've already problem solved that live to where we're gonna, do our thing, get back home ASAP to figure that out. And I don't know if I'm gonna put that on the podcast, but okay. Long story short, making some progressive moves.
Yes.
Right? Making some progressive moves. Shout out to Mika for putting that into our lexicon. But yeah, all in all, blessed week. We're gonna keep on going, blessed and stressed, but more blessed than stressed. We're gonna keep on pushing. We appreciate y'all for tuning in and always supporting. Again, like and subscribe on YouTube, or leave your review wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will appreciate it. All right, Queen, anything else you want to sprinkle on that?
That's all I got.
All right, beautiful people. Well, as usual, thanks for tuning in to True Health Forever podcast, where we shall live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
I'm Sinclair, aka the
Health Nerd. We hope y'all stay healthy. We hope y'all stay mentally wealthy. And of course, we hope y'all stay true.